So when I told Srila Prabhupada that this soldier had given me $80 and took 4 books, he had also asked me, could he be Krishna conscious and still be a soldier? And Srila Prabhupada looked at me and he said, so how did you answer? And I said, I told him, Srila Prabhupada, that the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to the greatest warrior in human history. Which it was kind of a, Prabhupada was charmed by that because he looked over at Harisari like, this guy really knows how to lay it on. So then he looks back at me and he waits for a second. He takes a couple steps, and then he looks back at me and he goes, you have answered rightly. Arjuna was a military man. Just like that. He was just enlivened by, you know, the simple frankness of it. And he confirmed it. We were in Chicago. Somebody said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, sometimes they're taking the books, they're tearing them up, they're throwing them in the trash. His immediate retort, he stops, he turns, he says, they're throwing their babies in the trash. What can be done? What can be done? We cannot prevent that. Prabhupada said, but even they touch the book before they throw it in the trash, they'd make some benefit. Immediately we're like, well, there's no problem there, you know. If we would get attacked by anybody physically, we literally thought, you're trespassing. We own the airport. And we're letting you use it. You understand? Now that's, of course, to anybody in material consciousness, they would think that's outrageous or very cultish or whatever, you know. But quite literally, that was our inner sense of what was happening. We would go into malls. The first airports I distributed, besides when I worked with Tripura a little bit in LA, and I did Chicago for a little while. Then I went up to Minnesota. But the first airport I worked was actually Hawaii, and it was illegal. So for 4 months, I worked that airport every day, and I used to run from the cops, dodge the security cops. They were actually Hawaii cops. So one day, the cop arrested me and took me in the office. And he threw me up against the wall. He was very, very thuggish. Not too professional. Big guy. So he pushes me up against the wall. And he grabs my shirt. And he goes, now listen, I'm not going to tell you again. Don't come back here. Don't come back. I'll have you arrested. And I looked at him and I said, I'm not going to tell you again. I'm coming back every day. And he looked at me and he was completely flummoxed. He said, do you want me to arrest you? I said, you can arrest me. I'm single. He said, you're single? I said, I'm single. I don't have a wife. I don't have any kids. You can arrest me. I can sit in jail for a few days. No big deal. And he started laughing. He said, you don't care. I said, no, I don't care at all. I said, but as soon as I get out, I'm going to come back here. I said, I give out 40, 50 of these books every day, mostly to service guys. They need these books. They need these books. These books are very important. So then the guy lets go of him and he backs up. And I start preaching to him. And in my mind, I just prayed to Prabhupada. I said, Prabhupada, give me the right thing to say. I said, you know, you follow me around so much. You kind of catch me all the time. I said, you're thinking about me all the time. And then he's like embarrassed, right? I said, I think you should read one of these books. I think that's why you're following me. Krishna wants you to follow me. I said, take this book home, read it. If you really feel that there's nothing of value in this book, then okay. But I said, I think you'll find something of value. So the next day, I had one of the devotee women make me a cheesecake. at the temple. And I took it to the airport. And I hunted for him. And I didn't wait for him to catch me. I hunted for him. And gave him the cheesecake. And he looked at me and said, all right, okay, all right. I read your book, a little bit of your book. I read enough. You're okay. He said, but I got a boss. And he's going to get on my case if I don't get on your case. So he said, so you do me a favor. When you see me walking, you sit down. Don't talk to people. Let me walk through, walk away, go in the other airport, other wing, and then you go back to what you're doing. Is that okay? I said, we got a deal. And I shook his hand. And we had that kind of authority. We felt that we had this authority because Prabhupada was absolutely cracking the whip. He was cracking the whip in the most loving, wonderful way. That we were, it was impossible to say no to Prabhupada. Because he was literally like the king and the general. The book distributors especially, we saw him in that generalship, kingly way, probably more so than maybe others, because that was the relationship that we had. And in Chicago, there were so many different situations where we got arrested in Chicago, we got arrested in Denver, we got arrested in Hawaii, both on book distribution and Harinam. In New York, we used to get chased constantly by the cops in LaGuardia Airport, till finally we kind of struck a deal with them. They gave us an area to work. And I used to bring the cop, every Friday I used to bring him a cheesecake. And when I failed to bring him a cheesecake, he would come out and look for me. And he would get upset. He would say, hey, where's my cheesecake? And I know, because I met devotees from, when I went to Mayapur in 75 and 76, I met devotees, men, brahmacharis from Australia, from England, from Germany, from Sweden, and from other places, but, France. And they were all cut out of the same wood. And they all had stories of, you know, how hard they were pushing to distribute those books. Truthfully, we were pushing much more than we pushed since. And we didn't care. And a lot of devotees will look back now and say, that was wrong to do, or that really yielded the wrong result, or didn't make any friends, or whatever, right? But the fact of the matter is, if you look at this country today, we need to start pushing again. We need to start making waves, getting some feedback. The way Bud and I pass out books at Rockefeller, that's one thing. We're gifting people the books, and there's not going to be anything negative. But imagine if we had 1,000 men in America again, ready to be brahmachari for 5 years, and ready to go into every possible situation and distribute Bhagavad Gita. And we have 40 years of experience now translating for people this message that Prabhupada gave us, which is simultaneously beautiful, all-knowing, thrilling, attractive, and problematic, or problem-solving. It's everything, right? And we have much more knowledge of this now than we had then. But the thing was, at that particular time, Srila Prabhupada was, he made it clear. When he came to Chicago, and the reporter walked up to the window and stuck the microphone in his face and said, Swamiji, why have you come to Chicago? Without skipping a beat, Prabhupada picked up the Time magazine. On the cover it said, Crime, Why, and What to Do. And Prabhupada picked up the magazine and said, why? because you have a very big problem here in Chicago. Too much crime. Here it says crime, why, and what to do. I have come to show you why and what to do. And all the devotees who were around the car, they just like, if his Prabhupada was, he was not, Prabhupada was not like any other guru, sadhu, all the people that are out there today talking about, Prabhupada was, it was like he was showing up with guns blazing. Guns blazing. He put everybody on the hot seat, and we loved it. You know? He was like Muhammad Ali. For the next 20 years, I'll whip any man from any country, any time, any place. That's what Prabhupada was like. He was like, I'm from Goloka. I'm not from here. I'll take you all on, one at a time or all together at the same time. Let's go, you know. And all the devotees had that same, we got that from Prabhupada. As a matter of fact, Prabhupada formed the BBT in 72. The largest number of devotees to join the movement joined from the time the BBT was started till Prabhupada left the planet. I mean, there might have been 1,000 devotees up till then, and then suddenly, and most of us, myself included, or myself more than anyone, have no earthly idea how I went from where I was to how I became a devotee in the space of 3 months. I have no earthly idea how that happened. But I was a passionate athlete, smart enough and articulate enough that I could be a book distributor, but I have no idea how Krishna looked over and he said, this guy, he's got all this energy. It will be completely squandered in the material world. Totally wasted. And my pure devotee is over here, and he's got a serious task to do. So here's one of 1,000. I'm going to grab by the hair, pull them right out of their material world, whatever it is. So many book distributors were musicians, athletes, right? Or losers from the material perspective, right? And then suddenly just dragged by Krishna in and said, here, my pure devotee wants so desperately to accomplish all of this. Now you get the mercy here. You get the credit, you get the mercy, you get the fun, you get the joy, you get the excitement. It was exciting going on Sankirtan during that period, more than it's ever been since. You never knew what was going to happen. You never knew. It was always going to be someone would respond in an amazing way to the book itself. Someone would respond in a negative way, and then eventually later they'd get turned and become your friend. It was amazing. Miraculous things would happen. Miraculous. And we got to witness it. So how it happened, we have no idea. And actually every book distributor that I know that went through that period of that 10, 12-year period intensely, they're all like veterans who are not damaged by the war. They're actually looking forward to the next war. You know, they would love to be engaged like that. So, you know, Prabhupada, he injected something very special. And he said in Washington, when Mother Meena said, Prabhupada, it seems so strange that you tell us women should be so chaste and shy and quiet and submissive. And Prabhupada said, yes. What is the difficulty? And she said, well, that's not my question. My question is, you also send us out every day on Sankirtan. And we have to stop men in the street. We have to smile at them, and we have to speak nicely to them, and we have to talk to them, and then we convince them to give us money. Prabhupada said, yes. What is the difficulty? And she said, well, it seems, you know, one is at odds with the other. And Prabhupada looked at her and he said, oh, she said, it seems that you're asking us in some situations to be aggressive when we're not really supposed to be aggressive. And Prabhupada said, he looks at her and he goes, I am also an aggressor. I came to this country, I was aggressive. I was very aggressive. You also can be aggressive. But then Prabhupada said, but you must learn how to be a lion on the chase and a lamb at home. So Prabhupada said, when you get home, then you can be the Mataji. He said, is that all right? And she's smiling from ear to ear. She knows, oh, this is ecstatic. I can go out every day and be an aggressor and stop people and, hey, you're not your body. Guess where you come from? Guess what? You're actually a rich man. You're a wealthy man. You just don't know it. You come from a very wealthy family. Take a look. And then come back to the temple and be just simple devotee. So Prabhupada was the powerhouse behind all of that. He was the powerhouse, and sometimes it was quietly injected, and sometimes it was really powerfully injected. And everyone felt it, you know.